Hey guys, Mr. Myers Mathematics teaching you tips and tricks to master any math class ever, forever. This is Mr. Kyle. So we're going to talk about how to solve inequalities easily. All right, so let me start with like the very, very basics. All right, super basic. Okay, we have four signs. All right, four signs. Four signs. Technically, really only two, right? Less than or greater than. But then some, math genius decided that it'd be fun to tag an or equal to each one of those two things to make four, to make your life twice as difficult. Yeah, I know, math people, right? Always making our math lives easier. I mean, more difficult, but also sometimes easier because I'm a math guy and I'm making your life easier. All right, anyways, so I think that was a fourth wall break. So four signs: less than, greater than, right? Less, greater, and then less slash equal, greater slash equal. Super basics. Okay, if you don't know what the signs are, there's kind of a trick they're gonna teach you. I'm gonna show you a trick to where if you get the signs confused, it's not really that big of a deal. Okay, because when you first learn about signs, you were like, oh well, just pretend it's a gator, and you're like, gator? How is that a gator? That looks like an eel maybe, right? It's like I don't know what that is. Right? Or Pac-Man, right? Maybe a Pac-Man. Pac-Man wants to gobble the thing on the side of the mouth. Yeah, whatever your teacher used, it probably wasn't that helpful when you got to solving inequalities. It's fine when you say 5 is greater than 4, right? Because you can be like, well, Pac-Man likes 5 more than 4, and you're like, oh, that makes sense, kind of. But it doesn't whenever you're solving inequalities. Not really. By the way, if you used a different thing other than Pac-Man or a gator or an eel, let me know in the comments below. So let's do this. Let's just do an example, right? So x is greater than 5. Okay, that's how you would read it. But even if you don't know what the symbol means, you don't need it. All you do is step 1, make a number line. Make a number line. All right, step 1, done. All right, so put the number on it. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, why did I do a negative? No, that's a positive 5. Just kidding. All right, put the number on it. 3, turn the that thing or that thing, right? Greater than or less than. Turn the sign, right? Whatever the inequality sign is. Turn the thing, right? The greater or the less into an arrow, right? So here's where the magic happens, kids. If you have this, whoa, oh, what is that? That's an arrow. Check it out. Boom. So a shade, right? So I shade from the number, in the direction of the arrow. In the direction, oop, I didn't mean to put a period there. In the direction of the arrow. All right, that's it. Boom. Now, sometimes you do. Let me make two different versions of this, right? So sometimes you'll do. So you can do open, right? So this is open circle, which does not equal. All right, so not equal. Then you have closed circle, which is equal. Okay, so in this case, it doesn't have the equal sign, right? Equal sign, no equal sign. X is greater than 5. That's it. So there's an open circle on it. Okay. Now, some textbooks, newer textbooks usually, are doing something a little different. Right? So you've got this. And then there's the other thing, right? So you have a parentheses, which means it doesn't include, so not equal. Then you have brackets, which means equal. Okay, and it's actually a little simpler to use parentheses and brackets because it translates nicely into interval notation, which I'm going to talk about in a second. So I still shade, throw shade on there to the right. Okay, it doesn't include, right? So parentheses is not equal, right? Does not include, so I put a parentheses on the 5, okay? So open circle and parentheses are the same thing. I put the parentheses in the direction of the shading. I'm not going to write that as a step, all right? That's just kind of a thing, okay? So number 1, make a number line, check. Number 2, put the number on it, check. Number 3, turn the sign, whether you know what it's called or not, greater than or equal to, cough, into an arrow. Turn the sign into an arrow. 4, shade from the number in the direction of the arrow. Right? And then number 5, you either use an open or closed circle, or you use a parenthesis or a bracket. That's it. Okay? So that's it. So let's go ahead and put this in interval notation. Now this right here is a lot easier to put into interval notation because you go from, hold on, interval notation, interval notation. Let me kind of take a side note here because you might not know what that is yet. Or you might still be a little confused. Maybe you've seen it before. Maybe you've done a few things with interval notation before and you're like, I still don't really get it. Here's how it goes, right? So you put a parentheses. Oh, sorry, so this is still applicable for interval notation, right? So if it's not equal to that number, then you put a parentheses, right? So here's how you do it. Okay, you put a parentheses. All right, so let me do this in steps. Interval notation. Step 1. You start with a parentheses or a bracket, right? Pointing so that it's like hugging something on its right. All right, let's give it a hug. So you start with one of those, depending on whether it equals or it doesn't equal, right? And here's the notes for that, right? Parentheses not equal, meaning not including that number, and bracket is including that number. So you start with a parentheses or a bracket, right? Then number 2, you put the leftmost, right? The thing that's most on the left, put the leftmost thing / number. Okay? Step 3 is the hardest step of them all. And I say that sarcastically. Number 3, you put a comma. Put a comma. Right? So that was sarcasm. Number 3 is the easiest step. Easiest step of them all. So you start with the parentheses. Ooh, that was a good voice crack. Yeah, I'm not editing that out. That was worth it. That was a good one. Start with a parentheses or a bracket. Step 1. Step 2, put the leftmost thing or the number. It could be negative infinity, which is not a number, so I just say thing to be kind of general. Number 3, put a comma. Number 4, put the rightmost, the thing that's most on the right. Right? So put the rightmost thing / number. Step 5. Step 5 is exactly like step 1, except it's going to be pointing the other way, right? So end with a parentheses or a bracket, depending on what you got. Okay, those are the steps for interval notation. So let me squeeze this in here actually, because I don't want to write this underneath interval notation. It'll get lost. So this is actually pretty easy, right? Let me zoom way in here. Let's decrease the thickness on this and just kind of squeeze it in here. So I start with 5, right? So here's 5. So you start with step 1 of the interval notation is you start with a parentheses or a bracket, right? So I start with parentheses. Then I put the number, the leftmost number. Then I put a comma, that was step 3, comma is step 3. Then number 4, I put the number on the right. Well, there's no number, right? I just have an arrow. So if I have an arrow, it's pointing to the right, then that's infinity. It never ends, it keeps going, right? It keeps going all the way to the right. Well, there's no number that ends. If you keep going to the right forever, it there's never a number that you end at. So you put infinity, right? Sideways 8. And of course you can't include infinity, right? Because if you could include infinity, that would mean that like there's something after infinity, right? And that's like the whole point of infinity is that there's nothing after it. Okay, so that's the answer. 5 comma infinity with parentheses on both sides. Okay, cool. Well, all right. So let's look at another example. Wait, what was the example I used? X greater than 5. Let's do a less than or equal to now. Let's change up the color a little bit here. Less than or equal to. Oh, let me change that marker back. Okay. So less than or equal to. X is less than or equal to -3. Okay, cool. So step 1, number line. Step 2, put the number on it. Step 3, make an arrow out of it. Step 4, shade in that direction. Okay, so boom, 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 boom. Shade to the left. Arrow's going to the left. I go shade to the left. And then you put either a closed circle or a bracket because it's the equal, right? So, and there we go. That's it. All right, so interval notation. Okay, so if you need to write it down, you can. But the steps for interval notation, all right, it's 5 steps. Step 1, you put a parenthesis or a bracket. Okay, now in this case, my arrow goes to the left, so it's negative infinity. There's not a number that it starts with. So step 1, I put a parentheses or a bracket. You have to know whether you are including that thing. So you kind of have to know what the number is first, which is kind of backwards, but I'm going to want to put a parentheses here because negative infinity is what this is, right? So step 1, parentheses. Step 2, negative infinity, right? So this is negative infinity. This is positive infinity. You don't need to put a plus on it necessarily. You can. It's not wrong. But that's it, right? So if you have the arrow, it means infinity because you never stop. It's just that we're calling the left negative when we're calling the right positive. It's a math thing. You just got to get used to it. Okay? So step 1, open parentheses. Step 2, negative infinity. Step 3, comma. Step 4, ending number, which is -3. Step 5, bracket. That's it. That's how easy it is. Okay, so let's talk about something else real quick. Okay, so we haven't really talked about how to solve anything yet. Let's solve something. 2x plus 1 equals 5. Right, so you can solve this equation, I'm assuming. If you can't, then check out another YouTube video on solving an equation. I'll put one up eventually, or in the comments below if you let me know you want to see a video on equations. Yeah, just post a comment. Literally, post a comment on anything you want to see for math videos, and I will do it. Because as of the time of this video, I have like not very many subscribers. So yeah, woe is me. Shed a tear. Um, but hey, I'm on the rise, so it's all good. So let's turn this into an inequality, right? Now it's an inequality. I'm going to solve it the same way as I do an equation. So I'm assuming you know how to solve an equation, right? Subtract 1, right? This sign just comes straight down. Okay, the ones cancel. 2x greater than or equal to 4, divide by 2, divide by 2. Right, 2's cancel. And the sign does not change still. Okay, It does not change unless you divide or multiply by a negative. All right, so that's my answer. Boom, done. That's it. Okay, and then real quick, number line. Okay, so number line. Da, 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 da. Step 1, make the number line. Step 2, put the number on it. Step 3, figure out which way your arrow goes. Right, my arrow goes right, so I shade right, shade in that direction from the number, and then I put a bracket or a parentheses. It's an or equal to, so I put a bracket. Okay, and that's it. So literally, bracket 2, comma, infinity. Okay. Now, what if you get something like this? Okay, let's use a pencil this time just to keep switching it up here. What if this? What if I say 3 plus 4? Let's get rid of the 4. Let's just say 3 equals 2 plus x. Oh, I keep forgetting to make that an inequality. Let's go this way. Okay, so you would still solve it like regular. You don't need to put the x on the left-hand side though. Big mistake. If the x is already positive, stay positive. Right? That's just a good life decision. Right? Just be positive. Be a positive person. Okay? So you want to do that in math too. Okay? So I'm going to leave the x there. It's a positive x. Leave him alone. He's positive. Okay? Now, this is what you do then. You read it backwards. Okay? Read backwards. Read backwards. Now, if I read it forwards, right, from left to right, like you do a sentence, it would say 1 is greater than x. That's cool. But that could be confusing. Read it backwards. If you read it backwards, x is less than 1. X is less than 1. That's how you read it backwards. So if I switch it around, right, x is less than 1. These two are the same thing. Right? These two are the same thing. So now I'm done, right? So make a number line and then put a number on it and go to the left, okay? Because that's the sign, right? The inequality makes an arrow and you go in the direction of the arrow. And it doesn't have the equal to, right? There's no equal. No equal. So I put a parenthesis. 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 Thesis. Like a thesis statement. Yeah, that's it. Oh, and interval notation, right? Parentheses because thing on the left is negative infinity. Step 3, comma, step 4, 1, step 5. Oh, I almost put a bracket there. Just kidding. Parentheses. Okay, cool. So if you need to, if x is already positive and it's on the right, leave it there and just read it backwards. It's much easier than trying to subtract x from both sides and then trying to divide, because if you do, you have to switch the sign. Okay, I'm not going to show an example just because of length of video. I don't want to make it too long. But yeah, that's pretty much everything that I wanted to show you. Okay, let me know if that was helpful. Leave a like if this was a helpful video for you. If you want to see more, let me know in the comments. If you want to see more examples, I can work out a ton of examples and suggest some resources maybe as well. But yeah, that was it.